The door unlocks. A red light flashes green. The magnetic seal releases, with a sharp metallic click. The glass entry swings inward slowly, deliberately, as if pushed by someone who knows exactly where they're going. No one is visible. At 9:42 p.m., Ashford County Records logs its final keycard entry of the night. The employee assigned to that card had already been reported missing. Security footage confirms the door opened. The hallway lights activated. Motion sensors detected movement on the third floor. No one is seen entering the building. At 10:17 p.m., a restricted archival file was accessed. That file no longer exists. This is the Unresolved Archive. Case File 001. The After Hours entry. Status: Unresolved. Daniel Mercer was 38 years old. Senior Records Archivist. Employed by Ashford County for 7 years. He had a reputation for precision. Quiet. Methodical. Predictable. Daniel. His supervisor once joked during a late shift. "You ever make mistakes?" Daniel had smiled faintly. Not on record. No disciplinary history. No complaints. No debt issues. No sudden behavior changes. His co-workers described him the same way. "He was routine," said Melissa Grant, administrative coordinator. If he said he'd finish something, it was done. If he left at 6:30, he was gone by 6:30. On the evening of his disappearance, Daniel left at 6:32 p.m. His keycard logged an official exit. Parking lot cameras captured his sedan pulling out at 6:36 p.m. Nothing unusual. Nothing hurried. At 8:05 p.m., his wife called his phone. No answer. At 8:17 p.m., she called again. At 8:42 p.m., she contacted a colleague. "Is Daniel still there?" she asked. "No," came the reply. "He left hours ago." At 9 p.m., authorities were notified. 42 minutes later, Daniel Mercer re-entered the building. Except he didn't. The security feed shows the front door opening. The timestamp reads 21 hours 42 minutes and 13 seconds. The lights in the corridor activate one by one. A long fluorescent glow stretching down corridor B. Empty. No shadow. No reflection. No visible figure. The responding officer later reviewed the footage. He paused the frame. Zoomed in. "Roll that back," he instructed the technician. They replayed it 5 times. "I don't see anyone," the technician said quietly. "But the door opened," the officer replied. "Yes." "And the system logged Mercer's credentials?" "Yes." Motion sensors triggered along corridor B at 9:44 p.m. Then near the stairwell at 9:47 p.m. Then outside restricted section C at 10:03 p.m. Restricted section C required elevated clearance. Daniel had standard archival privileges, not dual clearance. At 10:17 p.m., Terminal 3C logged a file access. File ID AC 47-1138R. The system recorded. Opened 22 hours 17 minutes and 9 seconds. Closed 22 hours 19 minutes and 2 seconds. 1 minute and 53 seconds. No edits. No downloads. No transfers. 2 days later, when IT attempted to retrieve the file, it did not exist. "Maybe it was reclassified," suggested one administrator. "It would show that." IT responded. "Maybe deleted?" Deletion leaves residue. Archived. Archived files still have indexing trails. AC 47-1138. R had none. Audit logs confirmed it had existed since 2009. It had been accessed 3 times prior. Each access labeled Division 47 Administrative Review. Division 47 did not exist in any current departmental structure. "There's no Division 47, the HR director stated firmly during an internal meeting. "But it's in the log," IT insisted. That code could be legacy. Legacy departments don't just vanish from payroll. The tension in that room, according to one attendee, was immediate. Daniel Mercer did not return home that night. His vehicle was found parked in his driveway. Wallet inside. Phone on the kitchen counter. No forced entry. No signs of struggle. His keycard was never recovered. Investigators questioned neighbors. "Did you see him return?" they asked. No, one replied. His lights were off most of the evening. His wife described the night he vanished. He texted at 5:58, she said, voice shaking. Leaving soon. That's the last message. Did he seem distressed recently? No. He was tired, maybe. But nothing like this. The first escalation came when IT conducted a deeper review of the access logs. The 9:42 p.m. entry is clean, said Mark Ellison, systems analyst. No override code. No forced access. The credential validated normally. But he wasn't authorized for after hours, a supervisor reminded him. I know. So why did the system allow it? Silence. Mark later explained privately to an investigator. I've seen corrupted entries before. This isn't corruption. It's legitimate authentication. Could someone clone a keycard? The investigator asked. Yes. And bypass the cameras? That's harder. Impossible. Mark hesitated. Not impossible. 3 days after Daniel's disappearance, an internal memo circulated. Subject line, Archival Integrity Protocol Review. It instructed staff not to discuss file AC 47-1138R. It restricted access to Section C pending administrative approval. It directed all media inquiries to county administration. The memo was unsigned. Melissa remembered reading it. I felt sick, she later said. It was like we weren't supposed to say his name. Within 2 weeks, Section C security firmware was replaced. Terminal 3C was decommissioned. Official explanation, routine system upgrade. Routine. One employee whispered in the break room. Since when do routine upgrades erase files? Daniel's case received minimal press coverage. Local paper. Brief segment on regional news. Missing archivist. No signs of foul play. 6 months later, Ashford County officially closed the case due to insufficient evidence of criminal activity. But the 10:17 p.m. timestamp remains permanently embedded in the audit archive. It cannot be deleted. It cannot be altered. It shows Daniel Mercer opened something that no longer exists. And the escalations were not over. 36 days after his disappearance, at 2:11 a.m., the server logged a remote authentication attempt. Credential used, Daniel Mercer. Origin, internal Ashford County record server. No physical entry recorded. No camera activation. No motion sensors triggered. Attempted access, AC 47-1138R. The file still did not exist. Explain that, the investigator demanded. Mark stared at the screen. I can't. The building remains operational. Section C is no longer labeled. Division 47 remains unrecognized. The door still unlocks at 9:42 p.m. in the archived footage. The hallway lights still activate. No one enters. And Daniel Mercer remains missing. If this case unsettles you, stay with it. Because what happened inside that building did not end with a missing man. It exposed a record that refuses to disappear, and a system that insists something was accessed. The escalations did not begin with the remote server ping. They began in 2009, when investigators widened the audit window beyond Daniel's employment period. They found something that had not been mentioned in initial summaries. File AC 47-1138 had been created on March 14, 2009 at 11:03 a.m. The creator ID was masked under an administrative tag labeled D47 root. Who has that clearance? The investigator asked. Mark Ellison shook his head. No one currently. Currently? It's not in the system anymore. Not in the system, the investigator repeated slowly. Or not supposed to be in the system? Mark did not answer. The 2009 access logs showed 3 openings of the file prior to Daniel's incident. Each access lasted less than 5 minutes. Each labeled Division 47 Administrative Review. The final access before Daniel's was dated April 22, 2012. Who accessed it in 2012? The investigator pressed. The ID is scrubbed, Mark said. It shows Division 47 again. Names? None. IP logs. Internal terminal. Terminal 3C. The same terminal Daniel allegedly used. The investigator leaned back in his chair. So, for 3 years, someone accessed this file from the same terminal, under a division that doesn't exist. And then it sits dormant until a missing man logs in after hours. Yes, and you're telling me that's coincidence. Mark exhaled. I'm telling you it's data. The deeper they went, the more inconsistencies surfaced. Daniel's wife was asked again about his recent behavior. He was quiet the last week, she admitted. But he's always quiet. Did he mention Division 47? No. Did he mention anything unusual at work? She hesitated. There was one thing. What? He asked me if I believed records could be altered without leaving proof. The room went silent. When did he ask that? 3 nights before he disappeared. What did you say? I told him that's impossible. Everything leaves a trace. The investigator scribbled notes. Did he seem afraid? No, she said. He seemed certain. Back at Ashford County Records, employees were interviewed privately. Melissa Grant was visibly nervous. Did Daniel ever talk about restricted Section C? She was asked. Not directly, she replied. Indirectly? He once said Section C was miscategorized. Miscalculated how? He said it held infrastructure reviews that didn't match their labels. Did he elaborate? No, I didn't ask. Why not? She swallowed. Because he told me not to. Another co-worker, Thomas Keene, reported a conversation 1 week before Daniel vanished. He asked me if I'd ever heard of Division 47, Thomas said. And I told him no. What did he say? He said, that's strange. It approves its own audits. Explain that. He said every review of AC 47-1138 was signed by Division 47, like it was auditing itself. The investigator paused. That's circular authorization. Yes, which isn't permitted. No. Did you report that? Thomas shook his head. It sounded like a filing error. It did not sound like an error anymore. The second escalation arrived when IT recovered fragments of cached data from Terminal 3C before it was decommissioned. A forensic technician managed to extract residual directory structures. There's a folder path referencing AC-47, she explained. And it branches into subdirectories that don't correspond to known municipal departments, such as transit, water management, zoning. All normal. Yes, but these aren't standard reviews. They're infrastructure override protocols. The investigator frowned. Override protocols for what? There's no full content. Just directory names. Read one. She hesitated. Emergency structural containment classified. That's a county file. It shouldn't be. The technician looked uncomfortable. There's something else. What? There's a subfolder labeled Personnel Observational Logs. The investigator's eyes narrowed. Personnel. Yes. Did you retrieve any names? No. The directory collapses. It's like it was partially removed. And this is tied to AC 47-1138R? Yes. The tension inside the department shifted from confusion to fear. An emergency administrative meeting was called. County Administrator Harold Whitmore addressed the staff. Speculation is unproductive, he said firmly. We are conducting a routine integrity review. A staff member raised a hand. Sir, with respect, a man is missing. Whitmore's expression tightened. The sheriff's department is handling that matter. Was Division 47 real? Someone asked from the back. Whitmore paused. There's no Division 47. But it's in the logs. There's no Division 47, he repeated. The meeting adjourned abruptly. 2 days later, external investigators requested access to archived physical records from 2009. Boxes labeled Infrastructure Review were brought out. Nothing referenced AC 47-1138R. Nothing referenced Division 47. But one detail stood out. In a ledger dated March 2009, A line item showed temporary reallocation of funds labeled D47 admin. D47. The investigator read aloud. The finance officer shifted uneasily. That's a placeholder code. For what? For internal review committees. Which committee? I don't recall. Is there documentation? It would have been purged after audit. Purged under what policy? Silence. The third escalation struck at 1:18 a.m. on the 42nd day after Daniel's disappearance. A maintenance worker triggered corridor B motion sensors while conducting routine checks. The alarm panel displayed prior activity logs. He later reported hearing something. I heard footsteps, he said. Footsteps where? Above me. Third floor. But you were alone. Yes. Did cameras activate? No. Did sensors register movement? No. Then what did you hear? He swallowed. Someone walking. When investigators reviewed sensor logs for that hour, there was no recorded movement. Yet the maintenance worker refused to return to the third floor alone. For days later, a junior IT analyst attempted to run a deep search query across legacy archives. She typed, Division 47. The system froze. Her screen flickered, then displayed an access denial prompt. Authorization required, D47 root. Her credentials were revoked the following morning. Official reason, violation of search protocol. She resigned 2 weeks later. Before leaving, she confided in Melissa. I don't think Daniel disappeared, she whispered. What do you mean? I think he found something. What? I don't know. But the system is protecting it. The investigator reviewing the case files noted a pattern emerging. Every attempt to trace Division 47 triggered resistance, administrative, technical, procedural. And the 10:17 p.m. timestamp remained untouched. It sat there like a scar. Daniel Mercer opened something. Something that had existed for at least 13 years. Something accessed only by a division that did not exist. And someone, or something, continued attempting to reach it. The escalations were no longer subtle. They were deliberate. At 11:26 p.m., 53 days after Daniel Mercer vanished, his wife received a call from an unknown number. The voicemail lasted 6 seconds. There was no voice, only the faint hum of fluorescent lights, and what sounded like a distant mechanical click. She replayed it repeatedly. It sounds like his building, she told investigators. I've picked him up from work before. That hum, it's the same. The number traced back to a prepaid phone purchased in a neighboring county. No usable surveillance footage. No fingerprints. When investigators requested building access logs for that night, there was no entry, no door activation, no motion detection, no remote login attempt. The voicemail timestamp coincided with no recorded system activity. That's impossible, the investigator muttered while reviewing the logs. Something initiated that call. They subpoenaed telecom metadata. The signal pinged from a cell tower less than half a mile from Ashford County records. The building again. When confronted with this, County Administrator Whitmore remained composed. We cannot validate speculative associations, he said calmly. Speculative? The investigator pressed. The tower places the phone within walking distance of your facility. There is no evidence it originated inside. Then grant us after-hours access for full sweep. Whitmore hesitated. Security protocols restrict unscheduled intrusion. A man is missing, and we are cooperating within legal parameters. Within days of that request, exterior camera firmware was updated. Archive footage older than 30 days was erased under routine data cycling policy. Except for one clip. The 9:42 p.m. entry remained. Why preserve that one? The investigator asked IT. It's embedded in audit redundancy, Mark explained. It cross-linked during the anomaly. Meaning, it's part of a protected integrity layer. If we delete it, the entire Access archive corrupts. So it stays. Yes, the fifth escalation unfolded during a quiet internal audit session. A temporary consultant hired by the county to perform cybersecurity diagnostics noticed something unusual within system partitions. There's a shadow index, she said. What does that mean? Mark asked. It's a reference table not visible in standard directory mapping. Linked to what? She ran a trace. It's linked to AC 47. Mark stared at the screen. That file doesn't exist. It exists somewhere, she replied. The index wouldn't reference a void. Can you open it? She tried. Authorization required. D47 root. Same barrier, she muttered. Can you bypass it? She hesitated. Not without tripping a system-wide alert, which would notify administrative oversight. Mark leaned back slowly. Division 47. The consultant looked up. That's not funny. I'm not joking. She documented her findings in a draft report. That report was never finalized. Her contract was terminated 3 days early. Official reason, budget constraints. She later told the investigator privately, I've worked federal systems. That partition structure isn't county-level architecture. It's layered like something repurposed. Repurposed from what? She shook her head. I don't want to guess. The sixth escalation came from inside Daniel's own archived workstation profile. IT had preserved his desktop environment as part of the investigation. While reviewing cache search histories, they discovered a series of queries performed 2 nights before his disappearance. Search term, Division 47 Personnel Oversight. Search term, Infrastructure Containment Audit 2009. Search term, Cross-Department Override Authorization. The final query, timestamp 5:41 p.m. on the day he vanished, read, D47 Root Credentials Access Protocol. The investigator studied the screen. He was looking for administrator-level access. Yes, Mark confirmed. Could he have obtained it? There's no record of successful elevation. But at 9:42 p.m., his credentials opened the door. Yes, and at 10:17 p.m., his credentials accessed AC 47. Yes, which requires D47 root. Yes. Silence filled the room. Then either he gained access, the investigator said slowly, or something granted it. The seventh escalation blurred the line between technical and personal. Daniel's wife discovered an encrypted USB drive inside a book on their living room shelf. She turned it over to investigators. The drive required a password. After multiple failed attempts, the investigator tried a variation of Daniel's birth date, combined with the building's street number. Access granted. Inside were 3 text files. The first contained copied snippets of system logs referencing AC 47-1138R. The second was a short note. If you're reading this, something confirmed my suspicion. The file is not infrastructure. It's observational. The third file contained a single line. They audit people. The investigator reread it aloud. They audit people. Mark looked unsettled. That's not possible. What do you think he meant? I don't know. They searched Daniel's workstation backups again, this time filtering for the word observational. They found one additional reference buried inside a metadata fragment from 2012. Personnel Observational Logs, Section C. Section C isn't just infrastructure, the investigator concluded. What is it? Melissa whispered when informed. I don't know yet. The eighth escalation arrived in the form of an internal email mistakenly forwarded to the wrong recipient. Subject, Containment Directive. It was sent from an administrative alias account. The body read, Limit internal inquiry regarding legacy review structures. Redirect digital trace attempts. Maintain operational continuity. The recipient replied, Is this about Mercer? There was no response. The email had her metadata linked to a server instance labeled D47 admin. When confronted, Whitmore denied knowledge. That alias does not exist within our official directory. It sent an email. Then it is spoofed. From inside your server? He did not answer directly. Instead, he stated, This line of questioning is outside the scope of a missing persons case. The investigator's frustration became visible. A man accessed a file that disappears. A division that doesn't exist audits itself. A shadow index protects something we can't see. And you're telling me it's outside scope? Whitmore's reply was measured. Records departments maintain sensitive data. Misinterpretation can cause unnecessary alarm. And what should we call this? Anomaly. The ninth escalation fractured the sense of time. During a late-night review of thermal sensor archives, separate from motion logs, a forensic analyst noticed temperature shifts along Corridor B at 9:43 p.m. on the night Daniel vanished. Why wasn't this flagged? The investigator asked. Thermal logs aren't integrated with motion alerts, she replied. The heat signature moved steadily toward Section C. Shape indeterminate. Can you enhance it? She tried. The form blurred under resolution increase. It's there, she insisted. Something with body heat moved through that hallway. But cameras show nothing. Yes. The investigator felt the case pivot again. Daniel Mercer may not have walked back into that building, but something did. While reviewing archived employment records from 2009, the investigator noticed a redacted resignation notice from a systems administrator named Leonard Hale. The resignation date matched the week AC 47-1138 was created. Why was this redacted? The investigator asked HR. Personnel privacy, the director replied. He resigned abruptly? Yes. Reason. Personal. Can we contact him? The director hesitated. He passed away in 2014. The investigator requested archived emails associated with Hale's account prior to resignation. Most were purged, but one internal memo draft remained in an autosave fragment. Subject line: D47 authorization scope. The body was incomplete, but one sentence survived. Division 47 is not an oversight committee. It is an internal audit construct operating outside municipal disclosure. Outside disclosure, the investigator repeated. Mark stared at the fragment. That sounds intentional. What does audit construct mean? I don't know. They traced Hale's workstation terminal history. Terminal 3C. The same terminal. The 11th escalation struck when a former night security guard came forward anonymously after seeing local coverage resurface online. I worked third shift in 2012, the voice said during a recorded call. There were nights the lights would trigger in Section C without anyone signing in. Did you report it? The investigator asked. Yes. What happened? I was told Section C housed automated review processes. Automated how? I wasn't given details. Did you ever see anyone enter? Not on camera. Did you ever hear anything? A pause. Footsteps. The investigator closed his eyes briefly. Why come forward now? Because you're asking the wrong question. What's the right question? Don't ask who entered. Ask what was being reviewed. The line disconnected. The 12th escalation was quieter but heavier. Forensic analysis of the encrypted USB drive uncovered deleted fragments of a fourth file Daniel had erased before disappearance. Using recovery software, technicians reconstructed partial text. It flagged me. The investigator read the line slowly. It flagged me. What does that mean? Melissa asked when informed. It could mean he triggered something, Mark said. Or something identified him, the investigator countered. They reviewed Daniel's personnel file for anomalies. Performance reviews were consistent. No disciplinary marks. No irregular attendance. But one subtle detail stood out. In 2018, his access level had been temporarily elevated for a 3-day period under authorization, code D47 admin. Why was this never mentioned? The investigator demanded. Mark looked stunned. It wasn't in the active profile. Then where was it? In legacy logs. Why elevate him? No request documentation exists. And he didn't report it? No. Or he didn't know. The room felt smaller. If Daniel's credentials had once been granted D47 level access, then his 9:42 p.m. authentication might not have been a breach. It might have been recognition. The 13th escalation fractured the county's narrative completely. A regional journalist filed a public records request for all references to Division 47. The county denied the request, citing national security exemption clauses not typically applicable to municipal departments. National security? the investigator repeated when informed. That's what the denial letter states. The journalist confirmed. Ashford County Records was a local archive facility. Why invoke national security? Within days, county servers experienced what officials described as a temporary routing malfunction. External access to archived audit logs was suspended for 48 hours. When service resumed, one change was evident. The 10:17 p.m. timestamp remained, but the metadata attached to it had altered. Previously, the entry showed file access, AC 47-1138R. Now it read, file access, restricted object. Object, Mark whispered. That's new, the investigator said. Why change terminology? Maybe it was always labeled that way. No, Mark replied firmly. It said file. The 14th escalation was emotional rather than technical. Daniel's wife returned to the building one afternoon unannounced. She stood in the lobby, staring at the corridor leading to Section C. He's here, she said quietly to the investigator beside her. What makes you say that? She looked down the hallway, as if listening. He wouldn't leave without telling me. Security staff shifted uncomfortably. Ma'am, one said gently, there's nothing beyond that door. She turned sharply. You don't know that. The investigator escorted her out. Later that evening, corridor B motion sensors triggered again at 7:58 p.m. The building was still open. Staff were present, but no one reported being in that corridor. Thermal logs showed a brief heat signature moving toward Section C. It dissipated at the door. No entry logged. The 15th escalation ended any illusion of coincidence. An external cybersecurity firm, hired independently by the journalist, analyzed network traffic during the 48-hour routing malfunction. They discovered outbound encrypted packets directed toward a federal domain registry. Timestamp, 10:18 p.m. On the night Daniel Mercer vanished. 1 minute after the file closed, the investigator said. Yes, the analyst confirmed. Destination. Classified endpoint. We can't see beyond the routing header. Was that traffic recorded in county logs? No. So something transmitted data externally, the investigator concluded. Yes, and it wasn't logged locally. Correct. Silence settled in the room. Daniel Mercer opened something at 10:17 p.m. At 10:18 p.m., encrypted data left the building. At 10:19 p.m., the session closed. At 9:42 p.m., the door had opened. No one entered. The building remains operational today. Section C bears no label. Terminal 3C has been replaced twice. Division 47 does not appear in any official directory. Yet the 10:17 p.m. timestamp cannot be removed. It sits embedded in the audit layer, like a fingerprint pressed into wet concrete. Daniel Mercer accessed a restricted object. That object vanished. A division that does not exist elevated his credentials years prior. A shadow index protects a directory no one can open. Thermal sensors recorded movement where cameras saw nothing. Encrypted data left the building seconds after the access. And a voicemail carrying the hum of fluorescent lights reached his wife from within half a mile of the archive. Daniel Mercer remains missing. No financial activity. No confirmed sightings. No body recovered. Ashford County officially closed the case after 6 months due to insufficient evidence of criminal activity. But evidence of access remains. If you followed this file to the end, consider what it implies. Not just about one missing archivist, but about what systems record, what they erase, and what they protect. Was Division 47 an internal audit construct? Was AC 47-1138 our infrastructure? Or was it observational, as Daniel wrote? They audit people. Who was being reviewed? And did Daniel trigger that review? Or become it? Case File 001. Ashford County. Records Archivist Daniel Mercer. After-hours entry confirmed. Restricted object accessed. Encrypted transmission logged. Subject missing. Status unresolved.